Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This is me once again, Umar Farooq Sumro, subject teacher of English OPE, class 6. I hope, students, all of you are fine by the blessings of Almighty Allah and by the prayers of your parents and elders. Dear students, it is said that the roots of education are bitter. It is said that the roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. Okay, dear students, as you are watching on your screen, this is book page number 41, book of OPE, unit number 2, lesson number 1, poetry. The tide rises, the tide falls. Okay, dear students, as I told you the meaning or the sense of the lesson in our previous lecture, and I told you that we will read about the meaning about these stanzas in our next lecture. So here we are. So students, as I suggested you, kindly read the poem in a very polite manner. Don't read the poem in very fast mood. Okay, so first of all we have to read the poem again, and I will tell you the meaning of each and every verse of this poem. So let's get started our lecture number 2 from unit 2, lesson 1. The tide rises, the tide falls. Dear students, the tide rises, the tide falls, the twilight darkens, the curlew calls. Along the sea sands, damp and brown, the traveler hastens towards the town, and the tide rises, the tide falls. Dear students, this was the first stanza, and now we have to know the meaning of each line of stanza number 1. Actually, dear students, the poem begins with the phrase the tide rises, the tide falls, which is repeated multiple times in the poem. There can be two meanings of this phrase. Okay, students, I am watching the picture from very zoom to you. This sentence, the tide rises, the tide falls, is repeated many times in the poem. Actually, the poem begins with the phrase the tide rises, the tide falls, which is repeated multiple times in the poem. And there can be two meanings of this phrase. First, it simply means that the tides of the sea keep rising and falling, and the process is eternal and never ending. Means it never ends, it never ends. The process of waves and layers of the ocean does not remain silent. As you have seen or visited a shore or a bank of the river, so you have seen that many layers come from ocean and ends at shore. Then other layers also come from the ocean and ends at shore. Then other layers come and ends, other layers comes and okay, so students, this process is called eternal. Eternal means never ending. The process or the season or the tide of the sea keep rising and falling, and the process is eternal. That means never ending. However, as the poem is quite symbolic, However, the poem is quite symbolic. Quite symbolic, what does the word or phrase mean? Quite symbolic means this is the poem where we have to find the meaning of the sentences not according to their formation. Because if we say the tide rises, the tide falls, it doesn't give the meaning that the weather rises up and weather goes down. No, quite symbolic means it is very dark, very deep in the meaning. Okay, dear students, quite symbolic means deep in the meaning that we have to find it. Okay, the tide here means life. Okay, as you are watching on your screen, I am pointing out the word tide means good. As I told you the meaning, tide means life and rise means start. Okay, tide rises means starting of life, tide means life, falls means ending of human life. The tide rises and the tide falls. That phrase means the process of human life is eternal, that it never ends. Many people are born in this world and many are dead, and then many others are also rebirth. Okay, so dear students, the process of human life cycle is eternal. Many peoples came in the world and are dead. Many peoples that we are living on earth will be dead, and many people will come after us. So, the process of human life or human cycle is never ending until if God wishes. Okay, so dear students, and now line number 2, the twilight darkens, the curlew calls. Actually, the word twilight means between light and darkness. It is the time of the evening when sun is about to be set out in the west. It is called twilight, the time of evening when the sun is about to be set out in the west. Okay, the curlew calls. Curlew means a wading bird, W-A-D-I-N-G, wading bird. I will show you the meaning of all the difficult words in the last. So wading bird means, curlew means wading bird, or a bird that has long feet, as you have seen such type of birds along the shore of the sea. Okay, so dear students, twilight means soft glowing light when the sun is about to set. The line thus means that the evening appears that darkens the sunlight, and there is calling of curlew means bird. Calling of curlew refers to the approaching death. Calling of curlew means when a bird is calling at the time of evening, it gives the sense of calling of death of human life. Okay, in the third line, a character, a traveler, is introduced who is walking across the sea, sand, damp and brown, hastened towards the town. Okay, damp means wet and brown is damp means wet and brown is the color at the time of dusk. As you have seen, time of dusk means when the sun is about to set, everything looks brown. As you have seen, everything looks brown in the color. So as according to it, the phrase in the simple sense means that the traveler is walking along the seashore at the time of dusk. At the time of dusk. Okay, the phrase in the simple sense means that the traveler is walking along the seashores at the time of dusk and is going towards town. However, in a deeper context, the traveler is a human being who is old now. The dark scene of seashore depicts that. His final stage and town here refers to death. It means a traveler. Here I am pointing out the word traveler. Here the traveler means a human being who is too old. Okay, he has turned towards the town. So town refers here death. It means now his age is completed and death is calling him, and he is now going to hasten towards the town, means he is at the stage of death. Okay, dear students, and in the final line, the tide rises, the tide falls, is repeated. As you know the meaning of this word here. In stanza number 2, darkness settles on roofs and walls, but the sea and the darkness calls and calls. The little waves with your soft white hands efface the footprints in the sands, and the tide rises and the tide falls. In stanza 2, the darkness settles on roofs and walls is example, the darkness finally takes over the light of the town. It means now the sun has been set out, okay, and the darkness finally takes over the light of the town. Here we can see a major shift from sea, lonely place, to town full of people, because when it is time to set out of sun, the people hasten towards the towns or come back to their homes, because the time is about to end of the light, and The sun has set off. Now people hastens to go homes and back to their town. In the next line, the phrase "the sea and the darkness calls" is repeated to create a poetic effect. As you know, this is the poem and is quite symbolic. Though the town is silent now, as it is night and everybody is sleeping, the sea keeps calling. As example, it keeps make sounds. It keeps make sounds because of it is calling the person who is old now and his stage is about to death. In a deeper sense, the lines means that though the people in the town sleep in the hope of the morning, or the darkness calls them, for because of their age is or their life on earth is completed. That's why it is calling them. The sea or darkness is calling the person. Dear students, in the deeper sense, it means that we live or we sleep at night in hope of life early in the morning, but because of we have no hope or belief on our life, it can be ended at any time. Okay, our life can be ended in any time, and we have no surety about our life. So many people go and sleep at their homes safe and sound to wake up early in the morning in the hope of life. But many people that sleep at night are often used in the age of death. They never start their life in the second morning. That's why the sea here means death is calling them again and again. Dear students, this was the meaning of stanza number 1 and 2. Okay, this was the meaning of stanza 1 and 2, and we will continue our lecture in our I will tell you the meaning of a third stanza in our lecture number 3. So dear students, as I told you, I will show you the meaning of difficult words. As I am showing you the picture of difficult words, you may see this and note it in your copies or notebooks. Okay, dear students, these are difficult words with their meanings. Okay, and now for you I have a homework on book page number 42. As I show you the picture of difficult words with their meanings, now what you have to do, you have to read the text and match each word to its definition in the right hand column. Okay, dear students, we will meet in our next lecture. Until Allah Hafiz.